Ayeka, exploring the depths of Jewish wisdom together.
Welcome, everybody. We're in the middle of a discussion, although for those who weren't here, it's fine. Just to recap what we spoke about last time, the motto was based on a Rashi who says, Zacha roide, loy zacha yoyreid. And that means that God created man to have to contend with physicality and with materialism. And we all have materialism in our lives that chisels at our being. And what happens is, no matter what you do, if you're climbing up, you're going to go up. And if you're not climbing up, there's no such thing as being in one place, static. You're either going up or down. And the choice is yours. Either you're working on yourself, and that's called zacha, which means to refine and to purify my being, in which case I am roide, I control. Or if I'm loy zacha, if I'm not refining and purifying myself, then I by definition am yored and I fall. And what we discussed is that the primary place where one can achieve this zacha, the sense of purification, of elevating oneself, is actually in davening. Because what's davening about? Well, we're seeing superficial messages being thrown at us from all angles all the time by life. Life is all about superficiality. And when you have an anchor of davening, so what you're really doing is allowing the davening to express who you truly are. And so as we praise holier, mightier, greater than ourselves, as we connect to God, which is called Tefillah, to connect to something higher, to God, as we do so, we become roide. We're able to dominate the Gashmias and the materialism. And what we're going to do today is move on to the next step. And the next step really is that to appreciate and understand what exactly it is that we're up against. What is this war with materialism? What is materialism trying to do to us? And what is the chiseling that it's doing to erode our being? And to understand who we truly are, and to develop this point as to how davening enables us to overcome all the challenges. And we can actually use an analogy, and the analogy is that if you want to give a name to all these sorrows and troubles and struggles that attack us from all sides, up, down, left, right, and center, we're going to call it a flood, a mabul that attacks us and that withers at our being. Because the human being is really born to be perfect. When we're born, as we discussed, in your mother's arms, you feel this serenity, and you feel this specialness. And as we grow older, something erodes at our being, and we lose that feeling, that sensation of who we truly are and how special we are. And what we want to do through davening is to recapture that, even whilst we're in the middle of the flood of life, and while so much is going on around us, and understand how davening is going to achieve that. So let's begin with the tefillah. A tefillah, because practice what you preach, and don't just preach. If we talk about davening, it would behoove us to actually daven as we daven. But what I want to do in davening now is say Kapitel Tehillim. We'll do Kapitel Chaf Gimel, Mizmor LeDavid. And what I want to do is this. As we say Tehillim, there's two parts to it. Part one is to ask Hashem for what we need. And let's use the opportunity to think about the things that we need from God, what we want Him to do. Like to give us a refuah shleima for those who need, and you think about the names of those who need. And to give parnasa, and to give shidduchim, and shalom bayis, and all the wonderful, incredible, vital needs that a person has. But remember also one thing, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today, and that is, what is my part in tefillah? What am I supposed to be doing through this davening process? Because davening is not merely about God doing His part. Davening is also about me participating in the process. So Specifically, I want to focus, as we say the kapitel, on one pasuk, on one verse, which is Gam ki elech begeit salmaves lo irara ki ata imadi. And what that means is that even as I walk in the valley of death, which means the valley of death is anything that's eroding my sense of security. Lo irara, I have nothing what to fear because you are with me. You, God, are with me when I bring you to me, when I allow you into me. It's not just, oh Hashem, you're with me. It's, you're with me when I allow you into my being. And your shivtecho mishantecho, to be able to rest on you and to be able to rely on you, is exactly what's going to comfort me in my challenges. So it's that the goodness and kindness are going to be following me all my life, because I'm going to be allowing them into my being. So we're davening and we're allowing God to help us in achieving our goals for davening. So let's do it. Mizmor LeDavid, Adinoi royi lo yachzor, binois deshe yarbitzeini, al mei menuchas in aleini, nafshi yeshoyve v'yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shmoi, gam ki elech v'geit salmavas lo yirara ki ate modi, shivtecha u'mishantecha hema inachamuni, ta'arich lefonai shulchan neged tzeroi, dishanta v'shem en roishi koisi v'voyo, ach toi v'chesed v'nifuni kol mechayo, v'shavti v'veis Adinoi l'erech yamim. And it's a chabura, a group, and I invite you to join the conversation. It is really the main point, is to have that conversation, which means to show up and participate ourselves in the davening and to share as to what davening means to us and how we develop these points and how we grow from them. So please feel free to chime in on the conversation as we go along, and let's try grow together and develop the points, because theory is quite easy to discuss, it's just intellectual. But Tefillah is called avoida. And avoida, as we discussed, means le'abed, to actually work on ourselves and to transform ourselves and to change who we are. So let's talk about the flood and its ramifications. When we start off in life, there's perfection. The child has perfection. And the question is, why does that child feel the sense of serenity? Why are kids always happy? And why are adults naturally unhappy? And you have to work on yourself to be happy. Do we agree? It's not natural to see an adult happy. It's very natural to see a child who's happy. True, some people are different. If you're different, it's because you succeeded in being, as David HaMelech says in Tehillim, Va'ani Tefillah, that I am a Tefillah. And it is this very goal which we seek to achieve. Because the message that the world, the superficiality of the messages around us want to send over to us, the message really is that you need to be there to be happy. And here, where you are now, is not a happy place to be in. So it's all about becoming and not about being. If I get to achieve this, then I will be happy. So, I'm going to build a house. I'm going to build this beautiful monstrosity mansion. And when I succeed in building it, one of two things is going to happen. Well, either one of the ways we have is we don't get what we want. Much of the time we have dreams and yearnings and we don't get there. But perhaps the greater problem is when we do get there. And we succeed in achieving, we build that house and we achieve the dream. And then you look around your house and you're like, okay, and now what? What's the point? And we need something real to fulfill our inner being, because the inner being is not happy just from being. And everything is about something you have to become. So there's a message of life, which is all the daigas and tirdas, haparnasa, the worries and the strains and the struggles of parnasa. You ever seen people when you have an issue, and what happens is you become obsessed with the issue you have, which is, if we don't have money, there's a factual I don't have money. But then there's this obsession with, oh my gosh, I don't have money, what's going to be, what's in this account, what's going to be, what's going to happen, I can't find a shidduch, I can't do this, I have this problem. A problem is exacerbated by the mind. The mind is a real meshugana. is actually quite insane and forces you to think and obsess with what would otherwise be a simple factual issue. And what the mind does to us is forces us to worry perpetually and to never be able to be happy. But it's one message that is really being sent to us constantly and consistently. When you were born, you were perfect. And then someone told you, or you suddenly realized that, oh, that person, the other kid, is able to walk. I want to walk also. I want to crawl. I want to ride a bike. I want to get there to be the next level. And you push for the next level. And slowly but surely you start realizing that you get a clap as you succeed in getting the next level. So you realize that the next level is great and you keep on wanting to achieve the next level, and then we start, and this is where the problem comes in, we start defining ourselves by the level which we achieved or didn't achieve. And at that point, serenity is lost. So how do we regain that serenity? And the trick's going to be able to discover the beauty of just being. So how do we get there? What's special about just being? So I'm going to ask you the question. Why is it special to just be? Imagine you take away everything you have, everything that defines you, all the external garments that define you. What would be left of me? Anything? What would be if I don't have the capsule that I've placed myself into? The personality, the character, the family, the money, the situation, good and bad that I am. What would be with me? Whatever would remain, that's what we want to get in touch with in davening. And it's actually quite a scary thought, especially the people who carry phones with them all the time and are never with themselves. But davening is just that. So the Baal Shem Tov gave an analogy for davening. And the words we're going to focus on today, so if we want to have key words for today's session, it's going to be Boi El Hateva. What does that mean? Boi El Hateva?
Come to the table.
That's one word is Hebrew there. Give me the whole thing in English.
Come to the ark.
Come to the ark. Right? And what is this referencing? The ark of Noah. There was a flood, and Noah was able to enter into the ark. But the linguistics in Hebrew are quite beautiful, as always, and the word teva has a dual meaning. The word teva, anyone speaks Hebrew? What does teva mean also?
Havara, letters. Teva.
Right? Yeah. A syllable? A word. Teva means a word.
A word?
A word.
Really?
Yep. Tevot are words. Bo el teva means enter the word. Enter the word, be able to enter into davening, to immerse yourself in the words of davening. That's what it means, Boi el teva. Now, how do we immerse ourselves in the words of davening? So, imagine we could create a spot for ourselves. A spot of perfection, of happiness, of serenity for just being, without needing to prove any value or anything to anyone. I don't care what goes on around me. The trouble is that I do. I'm actually lying to you if I say that I don't. So how do we do this? How do we get to a Boi El Hateva? Well, it's actually quite simple. It's by not thinking about what I need to do, but rather shifting the question to, what am I needed for? Why is this human being called me here on planet Earth? And if I can really immerse myself in that question and the answer to that question, then I can truly become happy. And I can truly become serene and secure in my being. And guess what? That's probably the greatest achievement one could ever imagine. Nothing greater could be built by you and me than actually discovering who I truly am. So the Baal Shem Tov's concept is this: that Boi El Hateva means that if you want to escape the flood of life that's around you. Now, what's the flood? The flood is, in the story in the Torah, the flood is from up and from down. From all sides, things come at you. Sometimes they are holy things. Sometimes you decide you want to, a holy thing, you want to educate your child. And there's a problem in school with chinuch, with education. And it's bothering you and you're obsessing over that issue. It's a holy issue. It's coming from above, from the spiritual. But nonetheless, it's gushing water of a flood at you. And then there's a flood that comes from below, which is, I'm just bothered that my neighbor built a nicer house than I did. So, in America, the way it works is, I build a house, and then my neighbor builds a house, and my neighbor builds a nicer house than me, so then I go to build a nicer house, and they build a nicer house, and I follow, and there's a vicious cycle, and suddenly we're all creating this, it's like a Ponzi scheme. The whole New York City is one big Ponzi scheme. Everyone's outdoing the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Then you wonder, but when am I getting to actually live life? And what the Baal Shem Tov is telling us is we have to achieve, we want to achieve, we seek to achieve a real sense of security, a boy el ateva, to be able to enter into the Word. And to be able to do so, let's ponder a Mishnah, which tells us that Chayav Adam Lomar Bishvili Nivra Ha'olam. A person must get himself used to saying that for me, this whole world was created. Everything I see around me is created for a purpose, for me to do something and be able to achieve something in this world. So there's a purpose why I'm here. What I need to do is align myself with my true inner being. So let me ask you the question. If I were to ask you, who are you really? What would you need? What information would you need to be able to answer that question? To be able to discover who I truly am? How do I get to that discovery? Any thoughts? How do I find who the true me is? How do I access my inner being? And not derive my sense of satisfaction and being from everyone else outside.
Self-honesty.
Self-honesty. How do we get there?
A lot of introspective thinking.
Okay, give me a meditation. What should I think about? What should I think about to be happy like a child? Just to be. Because what makes me sad is that I don't have all the things that I want to have. And I get upset and saddened and disappointed by it. So how am I going to find inner happiness? Well, let me ask you this. Why are you here in this world? Who put you here and why? Why is this person called you over here? And if you were to ask that question, what is the answer to that question? The answer lies in understanding that God believes in you and me. And He placed neshamas, souls, which are part of Him, into this world. And He says, I'm going to put you in, let me find the position for you. Okay? Put you into this marriage, this family, these kids, this amount of money, these tsaras, and these happinesses. Off you go. And now what? Go have fun. Because who are you truly? You're truly something else. That's the story of Rabbi Meir of Premishlan. Rabbi Meir of Premishlan would go down to the mikveh every day down a very slippery slope. And he was a very old man. And every day as he would go down, he would just stride down, all the way down, go to the mikveh, dip in the river, and come back up. And two young guys decided to see what's his trick, how does he do it, how does he not slip? So they walked off them with equal strides, and within a couple of seconds they fell and broke all their bones. And they came to him afterwards and they said, how did you manage to do it? And he answered them in Yiddish, As mis verbunden oben, fällt man nicht unten. If you are hoisted up, you don't fall down. I'm not walking down the slippery slope. I'm connected to something greater and something higher. And so we're all walking, figuratively, a slippery slope in life. But if we're connected to something higher, if we appreciate who we truly are, then we don't fall. And that's the verse which we just read before in the Kapitel Tehillim that we said. Gam ki elech begeitz al maves. Even as I walk in the valley of death, Loi irora kiata imadi. Even as I walk in the valley of death, I have nothing what to be afraid of because you are with me. No tsaris escapes God's presence. Wherever you are in God's presence, and God cares for you, and He has a mission for you. And chayav adam lomar, a person says, bishvili nivra ha'olam. All the problems were created for me to overcome. They are not problems. What they are is opportunities, challenges, opportunities. So what does God have to say about this particular challenge? What's the next step that I'm going to do? So here's what happens. We are all in some kind of capsule in this flood in life. We all encapsulate ourselves in something, right? The question is, what is that capsule that you walk into in life? Which means you have the way you perceive yourself to be. You have a perception, and you also have the basic physical things that you have. You have your home, you have your life, you have your place, your things you do, your places you go to, the social media you visit. You have all the things that are you, and you have a perception and a perspective that you are enwrapped in. If your teva, if your ark is not well fortified, what's going to happen is you're going to sink. And in the story, as is told in the Torah, that is exactly what happens to the ark of Noah. Noah gets into the ark, and initially the ark has no idea how to weather the waves of the mabul, of the flood, and it sinks. And so life gets too much for us, and we all sink, and we drown in life. And we know what that experience is like. When you drown and you feel overwhelmed, and it's too much. And what we want to learn now is how to encapsulate ourselves in an ark that is going to be fortified on all sides. And not only are we not going to drown and sink, that's step one. But step two is boats need water in order to cruise and to surf. It's no fun to surf on dry land. Try to surf. So not only is the mabul not going to bring me down, not only will the flood not bring me down, but it's actually going to be the fun and games that I'm going to surf on, and it's going to be the place where I'm going to express myself in life. And this is why the flood of Noach is known in the prophet and the Navi. It's got an interesting name. The flood is called Mei Noach. The prophet calls it the waters of Noach. What does Noach mean in English? Why was he called Noach? Tranquility? Isn't that an oxymoron? The flood of Noach, instead of being called the flood of struggles, of being overwhelmed, being lost, is called the waters of serenity. Because in the story of the Mabul, of the flood, why didn't God opt? If He wanted to destroy the world, you know how quick He could destroy the world? Sodom v'Amorah, by contrast, turned over in a second, and the whole thing was over. The flood lasted 40 days, and then a full year. If the goal was merely to get rid of the bad people, that could have happened in a second. Why the need to immerse in a 40-day flood? And the reason is because the bad people were destroyed in the first moment. They were destroyed right away. They could have been destroyed easily, yes. But the goal of a flood was to immerse ourselves and transform our beings. The whole world needed to be completely refined to be able to experience something different. And when we have the struggles and the difficulties in life and the challenges of life, what it does to us is it forces us to become better people. Because the only reason you enter into the ark of Noach is because there's a flood around you. Noach did not enter the teva, had no need to enter the teva until it was really raining and it was really harsh. And as the Torah says, mipnei mei hamabu, he enters because of the waters of the mabul. And that means that children, little children, actually don't know what davening is. What's davening? It's okay, I'm going to daven. An adult who has problems, an adult has a flood in their lives, knows all too well how vital it is to be able to enter into davening. The boy elateva. So not only is the flood not bringing us down, but to the contrary, the flood is actually elevating us, and the flood is actually allowing us to surf. It's like Shabbos, which is also noyach, menucha. What's Shabbos if you're a teenager? All week long you're bored and doing nothing anyway. No offense to teens, right? But all week long, it's like, you're with your friends and whatever's on that, and Shabbos is exactly the same thing. So it's just a matter of constraints. Don't do this, don't do that. But if you're a working person, and if you have a phone, and suddenly you could just shut that thing, and it's just peace. It's like amazing. And you sit there and you're like, hey, this is incredible. That sense of serenity called Shabbos is the most gorgeous experience one could ever imagine. You don't know how to experience the serenity, the peace of Shabbos unless you have a flood around. So we enter into the teva of Noach because of the flood. And it's those challenges in life that force us in. And here it is that when we daven, so we need to really, really get into the messages of davening. We need to understand what the messages of davening are. What is davening telling us? Because if I understand what davening is, I'm going to cling to it like a raft of life, because it's really going to give me the ability to transcend and get out of this rat race and just feel peace. And guess what? If I can feel that peace every single day for those moments of davening, then what I can do is suddenly I become a different kind of a person. You see a person light up. And when you light up, and when you're no longer bound by the struggles around you, suddenly you become a beacon of light and the world around you lights up. You ever see what we like? Look at your own face. When we have troubles and when we're defined by those troubles, you can read it all over me sometimes. And I'll look like the world is falling apart. And maybe it is. But when a person is hoisted up, verbunden oben, when you're connected to something higher, so then it's like, oh, I'm just going through a certain issue and I'm working it through and I'm a champion. And once I realize how powerful it is and what I'm able to achieve, and chayav adam lomar bishvili nivra haolam, for me the world was created. That means this world is the place for God put me in, He gave me a soul and He put me in this world, and what He wants me to do is change the world. So once I realize who I am, I can change the world. And that's the key. The key is to talk the language of the soul, to reveal our inner souls. Soul wants God. The soul realizes how amazing she is. Soul realizes, oh, so I'm not me because I have money or I don't. I am me because I'm a neshama, I'm a soul. And if I bind myself to that message and I connect to that message, then the world is just a place to achieve those goals that were set out for me. And that's the chayav adam lomar bishvili nivra haolam. The world was created for me. So I want to give you just one or two examples of how these are personal examples that I am going through. And I'm going to share with you, and then I'll ask you, if you care, to also share. So here's an example, okay? Lately in the WhatsApp generation, I don't know if it's more tsoros than ever, or I just know about them more than ever. I guess you hit a certain age and you know more people, and as life goes on, more things happen. And because you have WhatsApp, you know about everyone. And what it does to me, I don't know about you, is it gets me really down and depressed. Because when someone says they had a baby born, I feel simcha for a few seconds. When they say that their daughter got engaged and she was a bit older, maybe a few more seconds, and then it's done. But when I hear that someone is ill, and it's, a parent of little children, or something like that, my whole being, my whole kishkus just feel turned over, and I'm lost. And then I hear it again, somebody else, and again. And what happens is, I start saying Tehillim. But because I say Tehillim, I also get down and depressed. And the more I hear it, the more times, the more it erodes at my feeling of happiness. And when I'm happy, I feel guilty. How dare you be happy when someone else is struggling? Yeah? So, does anyone relate to my problem? Anyone else got the same issue? Okay, so what would you do? How do we take this mabul, this flood, right? Let's call it the WhatsApp flood of knowing all the tzaras and not wanting to deny, wanting to actually, to be sensitive to the tzaras that go on, but at the same time remain happy. How are we going to use davening for that? What do you think?
Mizmor Torah.
Mizmor Torah, what are you going to think about?
Just on a regular basis, to the association that you have with the negativity of the davening, you should have the same association with the positive of the davening. And
so you're saying even though
you said that when you say Tehillim, you're down because you're saying Tehillim.
Right.
But if you are constantly davening and constantly in Hoda'ah and constantly communicating with Hashem and connecting with Him, then your association could be positive. And the negative could be fewer and far in between.
Correct, but hold on.
Less effect.
But hold on, but I'm still hurt by this mother of little children or this young child who's suffering.
That's not mutually exclusive. It doesn't mean that you.
So you're saying I can still be
up.
happy from other things,
Sure.
even though that's going on.
So I happen to be personally very, very empathetic, like at a cycle level, and it's very hard for me when people are hurting. Like when I say.
So what do you do? So you're saying you'll be happy even so.
I suffer during that moment, and I really do. But that simcha of the baby born, or the shidduch, or anything like that, I'm elevated on such a higher level.
Let me take us to a new level though.
When you're so in tune that when you hear a simcha, you're so
happy
excited, right?
that it really carries me over. So that even when I hear something bad, when I hear something bad, in my head will tell me Baruch Hashem for the good, Baruch Hashem for the simcha.
There's still good things,
Baruch
right?
Hashem, and I let that be the majority.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I think not only is there not supposed to be a feeling of guilt, I mean, not that anyone's doing anything wrong, because it's natural feelings are very natural, but it shouldn't not just be not feeling guilty, but you have a responsibility to be happy. You have a responsibility to shine your happiness on other people. You have a responsibility to lift people up. So you are supposed to feel the sadness because you are supposed to care about people. Because if you don't, then how is your davening going to mean anything anyway? But then you're supposed, like after Tisha B'Av we have Shabbos Nachum, like you're supposed to transition into the happiness.
So how do you transition when you know that someone is suffering? And when you're a mother, okay, all you can think about is that that's really, really bad. Like you think about your own kids,
Right.
and you can't help it. So now,
So you get hoisted up.
yeah, how?
That you're being hoisted. I had a few things this week, and I was like, and I said Mizmor Torah like 15,000 times because I thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for protecting my children. Because when you hear about different crazy stuff going on and your family wasn't involved,
But unfortunately, when some people have their own families involved, how do you not fall from that?
Right. Let's say it's someone very close.
So I also put out a tefillah for that person. Like whenever I see someone walking on the street that's blind, I say tefillah for them. Whenever I hear that someone's
Beautiful.
I say tefillah for them.
But how's that different from any Tehillim anyways? Any tefillah is tefillah. If you're feeling guilty, that's something already internal.
I think it's
Right.
Recognizing you're not in control. Like at some point, Hashem,
Giving it over to God.
surrender. You can't control what's also
Let me ask you, what do you think of this? First of all, I don't think there's a correct answer. I think what everyone's saying is true. It's how we are dealing with the issue. So, I mean, I think we need to dedicate a whole shiur to this topic on its own. But let me bring up one interesting point, right? What if I tell you, why do you say Tehillim when you hear someone is sick? What are you hoping to achieve by saying a psalm, a kapitel Tehillim? You're hoping that something's going to come from above, and some power and energy is going to come down and be able to heal them. what if I would tell you that there is another way to heal people? And that is, well, what they need is clearly simcha. What if I say that the way to heal the other person, in addition to saying Tehillim, another way is by actually being the simcha? That is not that simcha is being oblivious. It's not that simcha is being nonchalant and insensitive, but rather that simcha itself, that when I'm feeling sorry for the other person, that the solution is to draw down simcha to the other person by being the simcha. And that's that mitzvah l'soida, which says Ivdu es Hashem besimcha, which we usually translate as serve God and be happy.
Is that what
With happiness.
With happiness. What does that mean? Work on yourself. Ivdu es Hashem. Work on yourself to connect to God besimcha. You can only work on being besimcha when you're actually not besimcha. Then you have to work on the simcha. So when you hear that someone has a problem, what you do is you say, God, I'm going to bring down bitachon and bring down simcha that it's going to be good. Because I really believe it's going to be good, then I'll be besimcha. So the very sadness itself can be transformed into simcha. So as I'm feeling the sadness, I'm going to change the sadness into simcha. And I'm going to bring it down before already. Okay? Again, it's a whole discussion on its own about how the system works. But suffice to say that that's Ivdu es Hashem besimcha, boyu lefanav birnana. Boyu lefanav, come to be connected to Him, to His pnimiyut, to His inside, birnana, with rejoicing. Because De'uki Hashem Elikim, know that God is there and is with you. So what you want to do is bring God into the picture. So as I'm feeling lost, and as I'm feeling lack of tranquility, and I'm feeling the struggle, and it's eroding at my being, what I'm going to do is cling to the words of davening. Boi elateva. I'm going to enter those words and I'm going to say, but this is true. And it's avoida, it's work. It's hard work to be able to feel that passion of what it means to be connected. So let's do this now, if I may. What I want to do is let's use the moment and see if so let's just summarize this point. Okay? Boyel Ateva means that davening is about sending you messages which are the opposite of what the world sends. When you look around the world all the time, right? What it says is that if you see a message which says, it's just a very innocent message, says Coca-Cola. Do you know what it's saying?
Buy Coca-Cola.
Drink.
That you're not good unless you buy this Coca-Cola. And you need that to be happy.
Buy it.
Right, exactly. When you open up your phone, every second it's telling you, you'll be happy if whatever that text is and whatever that email is and whatever that message is, that's going to make you happy. And what davening is saying is that you are happy. It's not a different message, oh, you'll be happy from something else. No, what it's saying is, you are happy. And that's why, here's another example. Okay, I don't know about you, but it was funny, this morning I was busy davening Shachris. And as I was davening, I was thinking to myself, what am I going to say in the shir? And I was okay, I'm going to say in the shir, you have to enter the words of davening and be able to really daven and be able to really feel the words of davening. And then I'm thinking, that's pretty hypocritical. I'm davening. I'm davening and I'm thinking about that I'm going to talk about this whole idea about how you need to enter the words of davening, and I'm thinking about it in the middle of davening instead of entering the words of davening. And what that thought did to me is pushed me into the teva, into the words. And I'm realizing that I could probably give over the concept in a better way and give the shir in a better way if instead of thinking about what to talk about during davening, if I actually daven during davening. Because then if I do it, then I can ask others to do it too. So we say in davening, right? And we constantly do this. We constantly push ourselves to, if I get there, I'll be happy. If I'm here, I'm not happy, and I'm going to have to get over there, and the next step, and the next step. And davening just becomes all about the next step. And that's why we have so many other thoughts, machshavas zaros, during davening. Because it's part of this rat race that I'm in, that I have to be there to get there. But what does davening say? Let's look at right at the beginning of davening. Some words. Onoichi Hashem Elekecha Hamalcha Me'eretz Mitzrayim Harchev Picha V'Amaleyu. What's the English of that? Onoichi Hashem Elekecha. I am Hashem your God. Hamalcha Me'eretz Mitzrayim. Took you out of the land of Egypt. Harchev Picha V'Amaleyu. Open your mouth and I'll fill it. What does that mean?
Ask me and I'll give you what you want. Ask.
It's not give you what you want, it's more like I will aid you into connecting to me.
Onoichi Hashem Elekecha is not something that he's got to do, it's something that I've got to do. You realize? I am Hashem, your God, meaning me and God are one. Hashem is my God, single tense, Elekecha, meaning my life where I am now is in the state of perfection of what God wants it to be. Hamalcha me'eretz Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim, again, a discussion on its own. Mitzrayim is not Egypt of once upon a time. Mitzrayim is the limitations and the challenges and the flood that we have. Mitzrayim means limitations. We're all slaves to Mitzrayim, to whatever's going on in our lives. And if you could just open up your horizons, to open your mouth and daven, then I will fill you with so much goodness that you won't even know what hit you. So, Anoichi Hashem Elekecha, think about it when you daven. Just to be, you have a soul, you're one with God, and the whole world is just a place for you to reveal the powers of God in this world. If you open up your mouth and you daven, I will fill you up with all these messages. But you need to be ready to internalize the message. And that's the boya lateva, to be able to daven during davening. So what I like to do now, and if you're comfortable with this, if you like, if you want, there's actually notebooks over here. But let's daven. Let's actually do this, right? Let's see what needs to be done. So either think about it or write it down, whichever one you prefer. But let's do this. Okay? What do I need to do to release and to let go of? Which means, what are the self-hidden barriers that I've been aware of that I need to confront and let go of? Okay, what are the barriers in my life? If you write 2 or 3 barriers that are preventing you from being you. So I said my 2 of mine, which is being besimcha, the inability to be happy, the inability to be the WhatsApp erosion at my life. And you write down 3 inner personal beliefs or ideas or patterns that I need to let go of. Okay? Let's do that for a moment. Again, it's some kind of, it's a belief that comes from the mabul, that comes from the flood around me. And what I want to do with this is to see how this traps me in a certain way of thinking.
Is the Rabbi referring to in actual davening or like
No, in life.
pre-davening?
Before, in life. I'm getting sad.
Can't even like, speaking for myself, can't even get there. Like the level, like it's so close up. So those are
Right. So write down for yourself what the issues are that you need to work on before davening. What are some things that are trapping you in a certain state of belief and not allowing you to be you? That's more about what's your relationship with your phone. What does your phone make you feel? The phone is not a thing on its own. phone makes you feel that antsy, that you're only good for the next text, that you can never be comfortable with yourself and be present. Those kind of things happen from a phone.
I'm not talking about physical. I'm talking about someone who's like
States of mind.
locked.
Right.
So how do you even?
Write it down. Let's try. Watch.
Like, there's a fork.
Okay, write it down. Write it down for yourself. The next step. The next step after you've done that is, here's the question. Holding ourselves accountable. Who do I need to become in order to bring to life what I want? What do I need to change myself into? How am I going to think, feel, and act differently in order to become someone else? To hold myself accountable for my actions. What do I need to do? Here, in my case, right? I'm saddened down by things that happen from outside. What I need to do, the step that I need to take, is to discover true simcha. The true simcha of just being. Anoichi Hashem Elikecha, of Ivdu as Hashem B'simcha. I need to work on myself to see how simcha is a solution. It's not a state that just happened to be because you're a child and nothing went wrong in your life. It's when things go wrong, you need to work the simcha into your life. And that's avoida. Or I always think that something else is going to happen and that's going to make me happy. That's the phone thing. Right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to focus on Anoichi Hashem Elikecha. I am Hashem your God. And it's not going to happen in 1 second. Okay, solved, problem. I focus on that problem, solved. It's avoida. Avoida means there's this crass being called me and has to be changed. Has to be worked on. God gave you your problems to change them. And that's the power of you. So the first thing is to write down the issue. The second thing is, what do I need to be if I'm to get there? And step 3 is, what are 2 or 3 steps that I can actually take to get there? So it starts with a contemplation and a meditation in davening, and then when the thing plays itself out, because davening takes place during Shachris, the formality of davening, and then it takes place in real time. When I get that WhatsApp, and now I need to daven. First kapitel Tehillim I need to say, when I get that WhatsApp, is perhaps for me. For me to be able to succeed in not becoming down by this and being elevated by it and being able to rise. So does anyone care to share? If it's not too personal and shareable? Yeah.
So I moved here 3 years ago, and
from overseas?
Mexico City. And all my family is there, my friends, and I've been struggling for 3 years, like being happy here and finding like the place.
When are you coming for Shabbos?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so 1 second. So you're struggling with a move to a new place with new people and you don't know anyone and it's difficult.
I know, yeah, but it's not the same as being
Right, it's being in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that's step 1.
Right, yeah.
So what do you need to do to get the life that you want?
Find happiness here. That here's where I am, accepted. Yeah.
So one way you could do is by finding more friends.
Yeah.
But what could you do?
I already gave up on that.
You gave up on them, okay. So what could
I'm giving you my number after, and we're gonna be friends.
Okay.
And then you can be friends with my other friends.
Okay, so what could you do to change that before you actually get any other friends?
To change what? The building?
Yep. How do you become happy without the need for something external?
Like it's so hard. Like our happiness is dependent on, I don't mean external physical things. Our happiness is dependent if our children are happy, then we're happy. If our marriage is good, then we're happy. It's not just
really
only
you.
Only
So,
ourselves.
You're not
So-
an extension of
That's exactly what he's saying.
Right?
No, but like
That's the whole
makes us happy
Buddha.
just so we can walk around.
So I actually
I'm going to say, by the way, the opposite. I'm going to say the
I
opposite.
actually had a bracelet made that says "Ein Od Milvado" to remind myself that everything's from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that we need to always remember that any little thing that we feel is, oh my gosh, that we're struggling with. This is actually what Hashem wants us to be doing right now. That's our avodah at that moment. So we can't be mad at HaKadosh Baruch Hu for what He's giving us. So if you want, I could make everyone bracelets.
So one second. So you're saying she should be sad until she has friends?
Of course not. No, I'm saying it's an understandable. It's understandable that like, okay, why can't you just be happy? Because our happiness a lot of times, our emotional happiness. I'm not talking about like, oh, a house, a car, money, whatever. Her emotions are not, certain emotions are not being fulfilled. That's why she's unhappy.
Would you agree with me that if you're happy, more friends will be attracted to you?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I would think so, yeah.
What?
There's a book, Mitzvah Jorah.
That's right. Literally,
that's
great messages for kids.
He has no friends, and then some wise old goat tells him that if you'd be happier, then you'd have friends. But that's not fair. She looks happy. She seems
not that I'm not right.
Thank you for saying the last part.
She has a void. She has a void.
Okay, so there's a void, but there's a void, right? So what do we do about that void? How do we boil a teva and be able to say, okay, today this is maybe tomorrow I'll find friends, maybe tomorrow I'll get what I need, but right now I don't have it. How do I be content with who I am today?
Focus on the other good things that you have.
Okay.
Sally Cole Turkey, like
Right.
every day.
So what are you going to do? What's your plan?
I'm like finding my purpose here.
How? I'll just give you a little idea. Look at yourself as a third person. Meaning, think to yourself, what would it take to throw someone from Mexico City into Brooklyn, New York, of all places, and actually try break in and find friends? And look at the experiment. And like, hey, that could be fun. Let's see what happens. In other words, if you look at yourself from outside, basically, when you wake up in the morning and you say, so that means it's me and God, and He's the only one I need to care about. Everyone else is just a place to have fun. So what's going to happen if I try a friend and they rebuff me? What's going to happen? Nothing. So why don't we just try it out, and then I'll be able to write a book about how you make friendships with people.
But then that becomes all-consuming. It's also not. Then that becomes your focus, and if it doesn't work, then you become crazy also.
Okay. So what do you say? What do you suggest?
It's not more what you said before, like wanting what you don't have, so I want to be there, I don't want to be here. Like it's more changing the...
Right. Being able to be happy with where you are now. That's really the...
Right.
Stop thinking about
Yeah.
I talk about this a lot, this concept, like in my family, to my kids, that can't wait for vacation, can't wait for summer. So I call it destination happiness, okay? And if you're waiting your entire life for destination happiness, that means when you get to your destination, like you said, that's never good enough, and you wait for your next destination happiness, right? So if you live your entire life chasing destination happiness, you're always going to live your life chasing destination happiness. And in order to truly be happy, you need to be happy right now. And then when you get there, because I think it applies to life also, that if you're not going forward, you're going back.
But how do you be happy right now?
So get there and be motivated by focusing on the great things that you have, because those are the little gifts that Hashem gave you to get you through
Let me
the
ask
things
you,
that are rough.
what if I have nothing?
No one has nothing. You opened your eyes. Nobody has nothing. No one.
What if my life is, a person tells me I would rather be dead? My life is so painful, I'd rather be dead.
Then that person needs...
They're not seeing all the markets. Sometimes it's hard.
Wake up like that.
You need to reshift your
Right, they should
focus.
look at the other people, and I'm sure in a
But-
demented way, they could look at someone else and say, oh, you know what?
But-
I have that better than that.
Do you see the first tefillah of the day? What's the first tefillah of the day you wake up with? Moed ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, shechazarta b'nishmasi
Right, I
v'chemla.
said that.
So what's special about that? I woke up, what's special about that?
Well, you have another opportunity to make today great.
Hashem chose to have you here now for a purpose.
It's not, that's
We'll
also,
figure it out.
make this day great, is also another thing to do.
Okay, so there
But you
go.
have, the opportunity is the gift. The opportunity.
Even before the opportunity.
But there are some people that
When-
have really bad lives.
When you look at your child,
They do.
right, when you look at your child though, what do you feel about your child?
Depends on the day. I'm being honest.
Okay, before that, right, but before that day.
We all have those days.
Before the depends on the day, the thought before that.
How do you feel about your child?
Yeah, a deeper feeling.
Happiness, this appreciation, this gratitude for having.
I'm so excited that you exist.
Right.
I don't need you to do
Before they
anything.
could talk.
Well, that's also the night before they went to bed nice and
Right.
you are.
If you go deep into your thoughts, you'll always discover that you don't need your child to do anything to be special. The child is special because you're my child, and you're a child of God. That's the moed ani lefanecha. God, I am your kid. You love me. God says, I don't care if you do mitzvahs, and if you do averos, doesn't harm me. Nothing at all. Moed ani lefanecha is whatever I do, He loves me, just because I am. So that's the tefillah. The tefillah is shechazarta b'nishmasi b'chemlo. God, you love me. Focus on that. By the way, the whole bracha says that in the morning. It's I don't need to go anywhere to be. And if you don't believe that, just look. It's much easier when you have a child, but if you're not, look at your parent, how they look at you. In essence. Yep.
So I think that, this is just from my personal experience, that when you have challenges, right, when you're going through challenges, your feels end up being more intense because at that moment you're...
That's the flood,
right,
and you have to enter into the teva. Exactly.
So I feel like, for me, my father passed away in his sleep, so obviously for me, Moda'ani took on a whole different meaning since my father passed away. I wake up in the morning, my Moda'anis are very different than my Moda'anis were as I mumble them, half awake, getting out of bed, trying to get my kids ready. I now stop what I'm doing and I say Moda'ani without doing something else. So I think that applies to any tefillah, anything in our lives, that if we have a tefillah that we actually understand and it speaks to us, we tend to say it with more kavanah, more concentration, more hargasha. And I feel like that's in general with anything in life, that if we're in a very bad spot and we can't focus on the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu really is our Savior, and really is our Abba, and really is the one who provides for us, we're so lost that we can't take the words that are in front of our face and actually them with hargasha.
Boil teva and enter into it.
Right.
Okay, let's take one more issue, and then wrap it up with that. Yeah.
I'm not the issue, but I have. I'm not doing that right now. But the rabbi said before about being kind of present and knowing who you are, and I feel like I'm just speaking for myself that really is the recipe for everything else around, because if you're not present and comfortable with who you are, knowing really, 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 truly who you are, not the physical things that you're attached to on the outside, and even your emotions or anything else, not chassidic things, but like more of a deeper who you really are, then we can't really connect to Hashem, because that is the essence of
the connection to Hashem is connecting to your soul.
Correct.
It's exactly what it is.
So the tapping into that part of you, understanding that there really is an Hashem there, is the recipe.
Agreed.
Everything else around it is...
Agreed. Okay, so let's take one more issue and then we'll wrap it up. Anyone else of something you wrote down, if you want to share?
No one wants to share.
I'll share. I'll say fear, because that is for me.
Fear?
Fear. Just being afraid of realizing who you are.
Realizing your potential?
No, again, separating.
Afraid of realizing what state you're in.
Correct.
Okay, and how are you going to work on it?
I have no idea.
You're saying facing yourself in the mirror and being...
No, not physical things. I'm talking about those.
Who am I?
No, that's what I'm saying. An imaginary mirror, but
I'm saying I
can
look at myself in the mirror and be like, wow,
inside.
I look great and everything could be wonderful. It's not, I'm saying. But
I'm saying your internal, who you are.
Yeah, your inside.
I want to leave you with one message, and let this become something to discuss next week, and perhaps, these things are things we should work on. Let's spend the week working on them. Me too. And actually taking what we wrote down and these issues and saying, okay, this is my issue, I'm going to focus for a week during davening, and I'm going to work on this thing and see where it takes me. And next time what I want to discuss is, and this is going to be the general idea, is that if I'm happy with my own being, in my own skin, if I say the Moedeh ani lefanecha, and Anochi Hashem Elokecha, and I realize He loves me just because. Then I take another look at the things that are going on around me and the flood that's going on around me, and I say, well, the flood actually serves a purpose. You know what the purpose of the flood is? It's for me to change. Problems and struggles are not there to bring me down, but rather to afford me opportunities to realize my potential and what God put me on this earth for. And that's the foundation of Chayav Adam Lomar Bishvili Nivra Olam. That I say, for me, all this concealment and all this struggle happens so that I could play the game and show the part. And actually, sometimes the more struggle that I have, that's a sign that I'm doing amazing. The fact that I have a struggle, the struggle itself is the place where I can make a change in the world. And so instead of the struggle defining me and saying, you are this type of person, I define the struggle. And the way to do that is that instead of the teva sinking from, oh my gosh, look what's happening around me, suddenly I'm going to get into the teva, I'm going to enter that word, I'm going to hoist myself up, verbunden oben, and then I'm going to ride the waves, and I'm going to say, hey, so look where I took the word of God, look where I took this message to places it was never able to be in before. So actually, not only am I not suffering the problems that are going on around me, but I'm actually a champion. Because I'm bringing this incredible message down to places it never was before. And let's discuss that next week. But in the meantime, homework. Because it isn't about, oh, I heard a nice word. It's about, let me actually do something about it. So let me summarize what we learned today. We learned that there's a flood of life around us that gushes at us from up and from down and from all angles. And what we want to do is not succumb to that flood, but rather to be able to enter into a teva. And a teva has a dual meaning. The boy el teva is not just, the teva is not just to not sink and not drown, because initially we do drown, but rather to be able to enter into the dual meaning. The teva is the word. To be able to enter into the word of davening and to realize that when there's all these tsaros around, not only do I not drown from it, but I actually see it as a place to surf the waves. And that's what it says, Vatelech hateva al panei hamoim. That the teva is actually able to ride on the waves of life. And so the beauty of life is issues, daven, hoist them up, go back, and take it more. And after a while you discover that the world becomes a better place because of you. So the message, the homework is to see how we could activate what we wrote down and then to bring it into action next time.